welcome back to our channel. We are back in Fredericton. As you saw, we got home last week, and so today is Monday, and we're kind of like on a full-blown work week, which is, I don't like it. I don't like it. Andrew's doing some laundry. We're just about to head out. We're gonna go to Starbucks. But recently, Andrew got some news about our trip as far as how his work is feeling about it. So, we'll finish getting stuff done here and head into the car and give you an update. So Andrew, give us the update.
I'm glad you asked, Kayla. So about 2 years ago, my company that I work for came out with a policy pertaining to working from outside of your country, so to speak. They're a little less concerned if I'm like all of a sudden in Winnipeg or Toronto or whatever, as long as I'm working my time zone and also just available. Partially this was because of like legal and financial reasons, that they wanted to make sure they weren't paying somebody who had a bank account in a foreign country, and they wanted to make sure that they didn't have someone who was using IT or Wi-Fi or something that may have, security concerns. And also we deal with a lot of clients who have high security recommendations and needs. And last thing we want is for them to get a ping being like, somebody has accessed your internet or your website from Malaysia, and they're like, oh shit, and then it's like, no, it's just me. At the time, Kayla and I were kind of planning this trip around the world, so I emailed my HR person and I was like, hey, just FYI, we're thinking about a year around the world, and let me know what else you need. And they were like, this is a little bit of a big ask, let us know as like closer to. So I waited a year, because this was, again, 2 years ago in January. So this past December, January, I sent an email back to that HR person saying, hey, remember me? Which, of course, they do. We work at a small company. I was like, this request is still desired, and let me know what you want to do. The first step was that I needed to get approval from what we call our delivery team. So, like, the team that does the work, that works with the clients we deliver, so to speak. So I had 1.5 meetings with them. The first meeting was really the only meeting where they were kind of like, what's the deal? What are you looking to get? What are you looking to achieve? They didn't really ask too many questions about like details. Mainly, I think their concern was like, are you going to be in a hostel? Are you going to be like in a cafe randomly? They had two big requests. One was that I made myself consistently available and that I wasn't like just not available. And the second one was that I would also still respect the client time zone. That's a big one for us, which affects me even today. I'm on the East Coast, which I also work Atlantic time zone. But I've had clients who are West Coast, and they're a 4-hour difference. So there's times where I've had to take calls at like 7 p.m. because it's in fact 3 p.m. for the client. That happens. It also means I sometimes have later mornings, which is kind of nice, but it is a trade-off. Now, if I'm in Thailand, which is potentially a 14 to 15 hour difference with some of those time zones, that's a much bigger deal if now a 9 a.m. meeting is in fact midnight for me the next day or whatever. I need to be sure that I'm okay with that, and also that I'm not only that I'm okay with it, that I'm actually working it. The delivery team said we accept it, and they said we're only accepting it because 2 reasons. One, it's you, and they love me. Fantastic. But 2, it's because last year when Kayla and I went to Germany and France, I in fact did not take that time off, not all of it at least. I was still working. So what ended up happening was we had the mornings to ourselves because of the time zone, and in the afternoons, Kayla and I would usually work out of the hotel that we were at. So I did that on purpose, which I didn't tell them, but I did that on purpose at the time, was to prove to them that I could do it, that I was willing to work like late nights, because again, back there, I was having meetings sometimes at like 10 p.m. because it would line up with, East Coast or whatever, Toronto time. And they were cool with it. The short of it is they gave me the green light, but it's more of a green cautionary light. The ask was that I do have a meeting with them at the 6-month mark to review how things are going, and that they could technically say, hey, Andrew, we have a client that needs you physically at their location. We need you to come back to Canada. So there is a caveat to it all to kind of just say, yes, but, which is something that I have to accept. That takes me to the next stage. Legal, IT, and finance now need to review it. Now I actually need to send them a tentative itinerary. They want to know, where am I going? Because they're not going to say like, hey, out of the 194, 95, 96 countries, these are the ones you can't go to. They're kind of like, tell us where you want to go and whatnot. The second thing is they want to know how long on average or around how long will I be at each location? Am I there for a weekend? Am I there for a week? Am I there for a month? So the current thing that we need to do, is we need to come up with a temporary itinerary with the countries and with time frames, and then the company will then kind of provide feedback on that.
All right, so if you're still with us, that took a long time. We are
like
literally downtown now, ordering our Starbucks.
Mm-hmm.
So we're gonna do that and then go grab it, and then tell you what we're thinking for our first 12 countries. So while Andrew is inside getting our drinks, I just thought I'd give you a little update on me, which is really, I don't have a boss. I'm my own boss, so I don't really have to go through all this stuff and get approval and whatnot. Basically, I have been kind of telling my clients for the last little bit that I'm getting ready for this, and so they're all kind of aware of it. And I think I have some that are kind of a little jealous. I'm sure that Andrew has some coworkers that are jealous as well. But basically, because of Andrew's whole like having to check in at 6 months, I want to make sure that we get 6 really good places in first of all, and then the hope is that he does get approval and we can continue our other 6 places. But if he doesn't get approval, it means that I will probably do it alone for 6 months. That's kind of the interesting thing right now.
Hi, we're home.
Okay. So,
All right.
right now on our list,
Yep.
we have 20 countries, like I said.
Mm-hmm.
And for the most part, they're almost all a month until we get to some of the Southeast Asian countries.
So I've organized them by continent. So South America, I have Panama, Peru, Argentina, Brazil in the email that I'm sending to my company. Then in the 5th month, we move to Africa, and this is where I start condensing potentially. This is where I want to get your thoughts. We had originally put South Africa, Morocco, Jordan, Egypt.
Another thing that we do have to keep in mind is that you do have 4 weeks of vacation.
5 weeks of it.
I was going to say 4 weeks of vacation and you're carrying over 5 days.
Yeah, so you're right. So I technically have 5 weeks.
And the week between Christmas and New Year's
technically should be continuing.
So I think another thing that we need to look at is, when do you want to take vacation, and what countries can we travel to while you're on vacation that we may not be able to travel to while you're working?
That's actually a good point. One of the other things is I'm providing notes to our HR team. Mm-hmm. So I've given them 4 notes. The first one is that our tentative plan is for every location they see below, 3 to 4 weeks. We're not doing fast travel. We're doing, we're kind of like staying in one place for a little bit. Second is, I note we're planning to stay in Airbnbs. I'm not going to get into the details of like hotels and stuff like this, but ideally one of their concerns is they're going to say, are you using shared or open internet?
Right.
So because we would be doing it in an Airbnb where you have your own internet, it'll be a bit safer. We could stay in a nice hotel that would have more secured internet. Mm-hmm.
We can also stay in hostels, but go to co-working spaces.
Yeah.
Buy a desk for a month.
The only issue with that, though, is if...
Buy an office for a month.
No, the only issue... Well, I don't think you can rent an office. But what I was
You can rent offices.
You're talking about co-working spaces?
Yeah.
The issue that I was going to get at, though, is some co-working spaces are not open overnight, and some of them might have to work late at night.
Right, so we look into that.
Yeah.
I think picking countries based off, it's just a chicken and egg situation where it's like, okay, well, we want to pick this one, but we can't pick this one if it doesn't have this. Well, we can't research it if we don't know that we're going to do that. It just feels like we have to rush to give them a couple countries, which stresses me out. But again, really all we need to focus on is the first 6 because you may not be going on the other 6.
Yeah, but I still gotta get approval for the whole thing. They're not gonna, because as we're seeing with the amount of time it takes for approval, I can't just be like, hey, let's approve it, and then let's expedite the next 6 months.
I know.
So that's why I'm saying I would rather give them the 15 places.
So which countries are you taking off the list then?
So let me. That's a good question because I don't think
Or like, what countries do you know you don't want to work out of? What countries can we keep on the list for our benefit?
Yeah.
As your vacation time, because I know that there are some on here that I really want to do, and I'm afraid that you're gonna take them off.
That's valid.
I know I want to go certain places, and like planning around your work is annoying because it does limit where we can go and what we can do, and it's just like, well, I thought this was going to be the opportunity to see parts of the world that we weren't going to be able to see otherwise, and it's not. I don't know. It's just stressful. It's just a bunch of... It's taking a lot more energy, and it's kind of taking the fun out of because we are under some constraints. Our planning is very different than someone who is just going to take a trip.
Yeah, exactly. Because we're not doing a trip. We're not doing just a trip. Like if we were just traveling for the sake of traveling, then this would be very different. But the plan was that we were going to work. So we have to take into account things like internet and access and that kind of consistency.
Again, though, I think a lot of the internet stuff, like, yes, who was it? Morocco has poor internet. Their internet speeds are not the greatest, but at the same time, like, where in Morocco are you going? What cities are you going to? Because those city centers are going to have better internet than middle of nowhere. Like, you look at Canada, it's like, we have great Wi-Fi here, but if you were to go up to something like somewhere like a northern community where they have limited options and limited access, yeah, that's going to bring our average down. Anyways, to be continued. We're going to keep whittling away at this list.
All right, so I'm done writing the email. I'm going to send this off. We decided to keep the countries that we had planned, but I had kind of broken them down, that some of the smaller ones that we were going to be sharing months, so to speak, we would be, I was going to kind of claim them a little bit more of like vacation time so that it kind of makes sense, because as we kind of previously noted, I do have like 5+ weeks of vacation to use next year, so that'll help. Anyway, so I'm going to send this email off, and obviously if they have any questions, they'll get back to me, and if they have any hard no's, they'll get back to me, and we'll kind of go from there, and fingers crossed that in the next few weeks we might actually be able to book our trip out of here and lock that in.
Yay! Hey! I don't know where we are in this vlog at this point. I have no idea what's going on, but I'm packing a bag right now because Andrew and I are headed out of town on a little bit of a road trip because I'm working on a film, which is really exciting. I've been getting more and more back into my film roots since a couple years ago, but it's kind of hit a new boom after the pandemic. So I'm heading up to a place in northwestern New Brunswick, and I am doing the role of second AD, which basically means that I am doing a lot of the coordination when it comes to making the schedules, communicating with actors, communicating with the crew before we get onto the set, so that once they get on the set, they are more than ready to hit the ground running and do what they have to do. I'm gonna spend most of my time in an office, but I will be outside a little bit, so I have to pack. I have a bunch of like warm clothes. I have clothes for like when I get back to the hotel and I want to be nice and warm at the end of the day. But Andrew's gonna come with me and be my hotel husband. He hasn't been a hotel husband ever, but I've been a hotel wife a couple times, mostly when we were dating and whatnot, and he was on business projects overseas or in the States and things like that. So this is a little less exciting, but it's still gonna be nice to have him with me for the next couple days. Hopefully the weather is not horrible, but also hopefully we get enough snow that we can do things that we need to, because it is primarily outside. Anyways, that's my little life update right now. If you see me in a hotel room, that is why.
It's over now, so don't despair.
Hey, so just giving a quick update. I am here in our hotel room in the majestic Florenceville, Bristol area. In fact, Kayla is currently on, or will be on this week, a kind of TV film shoot. So yeah, it's up in Northern New Brunswick if you've never been. Yeah, she was like, hey, do you want to come with me? I'm gonna be here for like 4 days. I kind of need the car. And I was like, well, might as well. So I am here. For those who don't know, often I travel for work as I consult, and sometimes Kayla will join me and we'll kind of live the hotel life for her. This is the first time I think that I'm the hotel husband, which is a weird feeling because she literally just texted me and she's like, oh, I'm gonna be late and can you grab me dinner? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess. And now I'm like, what do I do? Do I like play Switch? Do I watch TV? Do I do work? Do I go to the gym? Is this what like trophy partners feel like? I was gonna say trophy wife, but I guess anybody can be a trophy partner. Huh. I feel kind of pampered now. Anyway, see how this plays out. Cheers.
We're gonna be okay. If all the blue skies fade to gray, we're gonna be okay.
June.
Trying to play chess. Why? Why is this a thing? Why am I getting Spanish Inquisitioned about me playing chess?
This isn't the Spanish Inquisition.
It was unexpected.
I asked you one question.
Yeah. All good Inquisitions start with one question.
So we made it back to Fredericton. We had a good week in Florenceville. I guess it wasn't really a week. It was like a couple days.
It was close to it. It felt like a week.
The weather on the way home was absolute garbage, which is why I did not record anything on the way home. Literally like one lane of traffic basically the entire way. And now it's absolutely beautiful outside. It's literally, spring is really weird in New Brunswick, as I'm sure it is across Canada. I'm making some nachos. But just wanted to quickly say thanks for joining us this week. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. And I'm sorry we overloaded you with so much talking this week. I promise next week we'll be back to doing some fun stuff around town, doing a little bit more prep for our trip. Oh, and I guess if you wanted the update, we still haven't heard from Andrew's job, so we're still waiting.
I'll follow up by the end of this week to see if there's any movement on it.
So maybe we'll have an update for you next week. But thanks for joining us, and we'll see you then. Bye.